For those who seek adventure, this is the Buffalo Roamer Podcast, sharing the people, places, and moments that make a life on the loose worth living.
The thing that's going to stick out to you most is when they open up that plane door. The cold is something like you've never felt.
The jungle's so thick. Even if you had a machete, you couldn't get through it.
There's a huge blonde grizzly bear. And when it saw us, this thing put its head down, stomped on the ground, and hissed like an alligator.
I just crossed this brutal stretch of desert, and I was really suffering.
I'm your host, Will Collins. I'm an adventurer, outdoorsman, and roamer of wild places. I've backpacked the Brooks Range, rafted the Grand Canyon, and have canoed from source to sea, both the Mississippi and Yukon rivers. I live for adventure, travel, fresh air, and diving into the unknown. And now, I hope to share my passion with you on the Buffalo Roamer Podcast. Here we go, episode 79. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify if you're enjoying the show. That really helps us out. Or better yet, text a buddy that there's an adventure podcast they might enjoy checking out. Also, I got stuff on the website, buffaloroamer.com, all kinds of great merch. 2024 trip dates are going to be coming soon. Bear with me. A few of you have reached out already inquiring about those 2024 dates. Just stick with me. I'm going to be getting them out awfully soon, and we got some awesome, and really fun trips lined up for 2024 canoe trips with Buffalo Roamer Outdoors. Without further ado, today's episode is brought to you by Fischel Paddles, makers of fine handcrafted wooden canoe paddles, FISHELL paddles.com. Also brought to you by SRE Outdoors, family-owned and operated outdoor gear shop in Black River Falls, Wisconsin. That is SREgear.com. And today's episode, Jayson Holland is on the podcast. Jayson's a great guy from Southern Illinois, and he runs the blog website lookingdownriver.com. Paddler, outdoorsman, and really enjoyed talking to him. Jayson, pumped to talk to you, man. I don't know much about you, so looking forward to connecting. I saw you on social media. We had some interactions, and looks like you love to paddle and hike and get outside, so boom, I do too.
Awesome. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me a little bit about what you got going on with Looking Down River. And I guess first let's start off where you're at, because I think just looking at the map down in Southern Illinois, I'm up here in Northern Illinois. It's crazy how it can feel like worlds apart within the same state, huh?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we're down here in the very bottom, so we're in the southern 7 counties. So I'm in Massac County, Metropolis, Illinois. Home of Superman is where I'm at right now. About 7 blocks from the Ohio River, so I can walk down there when I want to, which is a pretty cool benefit of this house. But didn't know that. I'd be kayaking and stuff whenever I bought it, but it's really worked out since then. So yeah, that's
neat. And how did you get into kayaking and the outdoors and hiking?
Well, I can say that before the past it's not even been 2 years now, almost 2 years, probably didn't spend a lot of time outdoors, even growing up, really. I mean, my family had a farm nearby, so like hung out there, but never did any like big camp trips or didn't do Boy Scouts or anything like that. But I guess now it's coming up on 2 years ago. Got done drinking, quit cold turkey from alcohol. Had kind of been doing that for quite a few years, and was just at a point in my life where I think a lot of people were during the pandemic era, where they wanted to get outside, they didn't want to be in the house all the time, and that whole thing. So I got sober, and sometime after that, my wife was like, well, how about we get you something like a bike or a kayak? So we went to the Dick's Sporting Goods store, and like, cool. Well, my buddy already had one, and he had been sober for about 6 months, and he was like, we didn't want to go to like a meeting per se. And he said, well, how about we just go like Sunday mornings, 6 a.m., 5 a.m., no one, our families will be asleep. We'll get a couple hours in and we'll just do this. Well, it was the end of February during high water season. Freezing cold, so we got in our Carhartt bibs and we just kind of put in north of here about 30 miles, the Cache River State Natural Area, and then it was every other week, and then it turned into every Sunday, and then it's just been kind of going for like that for about a year and a half now. So yeah,
that's awesome, man.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's awesome. I love it. And I've seen on some of your posts, some of the things you say is, kayaking saved your life.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it was crazy at the time. My family, my wife and kids always kind of joke with me, like, "Oh, if you just quit drinking, the belly would go away." And like I had this belly that I didn't have, when I was 18 or 19, 20, and it did. It's crazy. I lost 60 pounds in like 8 months or 9 months just from paddling on the river and started running and stuff like that. And like I said, it's just kind of been uphill from there. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. Tell me a little bit about the area that you're at, because it looks awesome from the map. I know of it just a little bit, like the cache and how do you say it? The cache and what's the like the area called?
So we have the Shawnee National Forest, which is 300,000 acres of national forest. A lot of glacial rock formation, stuff like that. Pretty interesting and diverse area in general. But then below that, we have the Cache River wetlands, which is, I think, 15,000. There's two areas, so it's about 30,000 acres in total. It's got a 90-mile river that runs down the middle. That's really interesting because it's actually in the bed of the ancient Ohio River. So if you look at the map, you can kind of see the form of where it used to be. But when the glaciers melted, it moved it down to where, it runs through like Paducah, Kentucky, on down to the confluence in Caro. But afterwards, it's just a swamp area that they filled in, and turned into agriculture eventually. So it's primarily an agricultural area down here in the southern seven for sure. And then the national forest is just above us. So, but yeah, we've got the amount of water you don't really think about it until you start kayaking. But I mean, I can go 20 minutes that way and be at the confluence of the Tennessee and the Ohio. Another 30 minutes, I can be on the Cumberland at Land Between the Lakes National Recreation Area. And then, I mean, the Ohio is 6 blocks down the street, 7 blocks. And then it's 45 minutes to Caro, to the start of, lower Mississippi. So we can take off on a trip down there. I mean, I go to Caro, twice a week for work. So it's like I see it every week.
Yeah.
But it's just mind blowing when you start paddling. You're like, and we have little lakes everywhere too, which is just
insane.
a whole other situation.
It's insane, man. Yeah. And you live in like the Mesopotamia of, and also there's so much, there is a lot of Native American and Native history and culture. There's a lot of mounds, a lot of, that confluence. Yeah. Like you said, you're pretty much in the heart. I was looking at the map of it before we hopped on the call here. You're like in the heart of America, like America's watershed. It's like the Mississippi meets the Ohio River, which is, other than maybe the Missouri and the Mississippi, but obviously there's a lot more water south when the Ohio meets it. So the confluence of the Ohio and the Mississippi is like one of the most major confluences in America. And then, like you said, just upriver a little bit of that, I didn't realize it until looking at the map. You got the Tennessee River coming into the Ohio River. And, it's just so much powerful water. Now, I don't know much about the Cumberland either. What's up with the Cumberland River? What's the story there?
I'm not big on that one per se. It's not got as much paddling going on. Both of the rivers are dammed there, which creates Land Between the Lakes National Recreation Area. And that is, it's probably 170,000 acres, that alone. And it's all got trails and it's got old homesteads. So you can just camp anywhere. It's got backcountry. You can get a backcountry permit and go anywhere there. But I mean, it stretches from, just south of Paducah all the way through Tennessee. And you got two huge lakes. And like I said, the Cumberland's not as paddled as much. It goes down to Nashville and all that. But the Tennessee River, they're actually starting a new program. Tennessee River Line is what it's called, out of UT Knoxville, I believe. And they're trying to create a next, waterway trail. Great. Which is, something that, I'm hoping that the Ohio gets a little more of that down on this end, because we're kind of, I guess I've not been to the lower Mississippi, but a lot of people can kind of compare it to that Louisiana, Baton Rouge kind of area. So sure. It's definitely man altered a lot would be the word. Okay. Down here. So
it's so many interesting angles to go here, but one of them is you mentioned how you didn't realize like the the waterways and the massive, amazing arteries of America. And you sounds like you've grown up
Right.
there your whole life, right? Until you started kayaking. And
Well, there's a little break in there. I had a little runaway time. I joined the military for about 6 years, and
Okay.
then did some time away, and then came back. But so it's kind of like a coming back. I think it was one of those things where coming back here, I was like, all right, like maybe it's time to. I actually left. I was in Carbondale at SIU,
Sure.
which is a lot of partying going on, and that was a lot of my problem. But once I came down here, the party was over. You were back in a small town with your like mom and dad, and it's like that's a lot of what I guess made the change happen for me. Like it was
Okay.
like, okay, it's time to grow up.
I hear you.
So, but yeah,
But
so
part
it's all
of
new
that,
to me, really.
part of that being that a lot of these river towns along the whole way, man, along Cairo, all the way down south to New Orleans, all the way up to Minneapolis. A lot of these river towns are like kind of forgotten and run, have seen brighter
Yeah.
days in their past, and because there was so much of a connection to the river, probably a lot of times I've heard people say when the interstate systems were built and automobiles became huge, some of that pull away from the river because that was how people traveled. But it's just, it's interesting and it's sad, but still also there is so much of the rivers in the culture of the towns, even if it's kind of like forgotten by some,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even I guess I never thought about it, but like the middle of our town, the road I live on is called Ferry Street. So it's like it heads downhill at the end, like a couple blocks down, and runs down at this crazy incline. And that was it before I-24, our interstate and our steel deck bridge down the road came in. This was how people got to Kentucky and Tennessee and Georgia. This was one of the main ways. And it's just a reminder every day. And it's like I said, I never thought about water, I guess, growing up here. It wasn't, I hate to say it was a fear, but it almost like a culture of fear. Like I never touched that water before. I never swam in it. I've never boated in it,
Yeah. There is a
so
total there, and that still is permeates people I talk to, and I would imagine you probably too. It's like there still is that culture, which some of it is maybe right. Obviously you don't want to be naive, and there's serious risk in anything you do. But with that being said, yeah, there's some culture of it being a dark, I'm talking about the Mississippi and just big rivers in general, but about it being dark, dangerous, will suck you in. And meanwhile, you go out there and it's like, holy cow, this is beautiful, amazing wilderness, nobody out there.
Right.
Just like one of the most intact, I don't know if intact's the right word, but remote and abundant wilderness areas in our country, and it's just like a huge corridor,
Yeah, 100%. And we talk about it because people here just don't. There's like I understand up St. Louis area. We've been up there for some races and paddled with some people up that way, and there's kind of a culture. There's clubs and people get together. Here we are it. We are the only ones that touch the river. That we've asked people. We've had a couple of people that are interested for next season with us. But it's just, man, it's the way I explain it to everybody, they want to know, and I just say it's like riding a bicycle on the interstate. You got to watch out for the semis. You're in the median a lot. You're on the shoulder in this little area. But I was like, as long as you stay out of the way, they're not gonna probably get anywhere near you. And if they do, it's not as bad as everyone has always told you it would.
Yeah,
be,
and you're talking about paddling with big barges.
Yeah. I mean, I know that some of the other rivers, like on the Missouri, might have a little bit smaller ones just because of their situation there. But here, we're locked all the way to Pittsburgh. So, I mean, we can take as much as the Mississippi can, I would imagine. I mean, they constantly go left and right when they come to Cairo. So, which makes for an interesting, until you go out there and paddle it and you have a bad season where there's a lot of water standing for a while. It's weird because it's honestly, sometimes I feel like we're paddling against the wind and there's no current. So, it makes you a really resilient person, I guess, as a paddler. You're just used to going straight into the wind a lot and no current. So, But we love it though. I mean, it's everything to us. So.
And so you take people out paddling, it sounds like?
Yeah. Just, we have friends that'll say, "Hey man, I see what you're doing online, and I want to, like, I saw what you did. I want to have a part in that." And so but we're strict. We don't, people want Sunday at 5 p.m. or 3 o'clock, and we did that once. It was okay. We got, it was actually not that great. We kind of got lost in it because it was dark and not for us. And we always tell people you got to come at 6 a.m. We don't play around. Like, that's when we start. And if you're not here by like 6:10, you're probably not going to see us, and we've got one buddy that's been going with us quite frequently, and he's like, "Man, I'm ready for the river next season." We're like, "All right, like, you've been with us like 10 times. We think you're not going to be a knucklehead." Like,
Yeah.
So he's fooled around a little bit over on the Tennessee Confluence with us out of Paducah, and he did good both times we went out. So yeah, I think he's gonna jump on the Mississippi with us a little bit next year or something. So
cool. Do you have any favorite sections or favorite favorite parts that you like to paddle, or like a favorite feature or something, place you like to go?
Yeah, for us, when our normal days year round, we go to the Lower Cache, and the Lower Cache, the Cache River itself, super unique, because Cairo is the gateway to the south, or the gateway to the Delta. That's pretty well known. But like I said, this was all swamp after the river moved, and I think they say something like 95% of it's gone. But it was all Tupelo swamp and bald cypress swamp, which people go, "What? Illinois?" And I'm like, "I know, we have 91% of it that's left. It's a small fraction, but we have 1,000-year-old trees and 1,300-year-old trees they couldn't get to. There were,
and so
I would only imagine.
It's literally like, not to cut you off, but it's literally like you're paddling through what I would think of as like the bayous or the swamps of like Louisiana, like cypress trees and like the whole works. And from my understanding, it's like the most northern, I guess Cypress Swamp might not be the right word, but that type of swamp, it's the most northern section of it in the world, maybe?
Yeah, I believe so.
Definitely
there are pieces of it that are smaller, but I think, like, as far as a bulk piece that's left, I mean, you see it on people's property, which is another cool part the state does. They have a program where if you have some, I mean, it's not very useful to anyone. It's just part of their property, so you can have it included in the areas, the habitat area and stuff. So, and it can be counted towards the overall number that they're trying to save. So it's a really good program they've got.
And so this river, as you're paddling it, which I got to come down and paddle it with you sometime, because
100%.
It's been on my list to paddle it for a while. But it's like, so it's a kind of a river that runs through like a flooded swamp, and you're just cruising around, checking out trees and just paddling around the swamp, huh?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different sloughs and sections. Like I said, the main section is dammed on both ends, so it does retain water a lot of the time. That was done in the interest of hunting, so to keep, as levels have changed, it was getting lower and lower. So there were actually dams put on either end to keep the water level up where the water trail area is. But the main area, you can kind of connect to that river and go about anywhere. It's pretty wild. You go through these little towns that were built around, like we talk about this river going away. These little towns that were left there were actually all lumber mills for the swamp. So their names like Cypress, and these little towns. And they're down, in population to, down to 500. There's maybe a Dollar General, but it's a very small area now. But it's interesting because it's like we're always kind of stepping back in history and learning a little bit, and then it's a good time. And we're actually gonna be down there next season, guiding for the first season with the only outfitter on the river, Cache Bayou Outfitters. So our buddy Mark, he hit us up and he's like, "Dude, you guys are here every Sunday. Like, let's make this happen." And we were like, "Oh, okay, yeah." Like, and so we're gonna be able to help him out and get some like guided tours in and stuff like that, and help just keep him afloat next season and have a good season. So it'll be cool.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it sounds like a blast. And yeah, it's been on my list of places I want to paddle. But yeah, it's like I said earlier, it's crazy. I'm up here in northern Illinois, and I looked at Google Maps, and it's 6 hours, 6 hours down here.
Yeah.
It's like, it's close enough to make it, but far enough that you got to make a plan,
Yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah, it's when we talk about being so located, that's why my wife, she's from Detroit, and her big thing is like, well, I need to be able to get to an airport. Like, I want to travel. I need to be, and we're only 3 hours. It's crazy what we're close to, but we're about 3 hours from St. Louis, 2 hours from Nashville, 5 hours from Atlanta, 5 hours from Indy.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's so many crazy places that are close to us, and you can kind of get over to if you want to. So it's a big benefit of living down this way. So
that's cool. How about some of your hiking stuff? I noticed on one of your posts you were talking about a river to river through hike. What's that?
Yeah. So the River Trail, it's super interesting. It's the only, I'm sure there's other big trails out there, but in Illinois, but this one's 160 miles. It's across, we get the towns are at Elizabethtown, Illinois to Grand Tower, Illinois. So you put your feet in the Ohio, you walk 160 miles across the way, and you put your feet into the Mississippi. And the reason we wanted to be this solo sport thing, because neither of us had ever done any sports. We're like, this is what we're doing. We're kayakers. This is what we do. But we went on this Mississippi trip. It was kind of a quick judgment. Hey, we did good on the Ohio. Let's get some boats and go down the Mississippi. So I got a Facebook Marketplace cheapo deal locally that didn't really fit me. And Joseph got a brand new boat, and we headed down there. But the real issue we found is that we didn't know how to camp very well. We went, I think I was asking my wife, she thinks it was $140. She said, here's $140, go to Walmart, just get what you got, get what you need for the 4 or 5 days. And then gear was just falling apart. Like things were, and it stormed, and we only brought hammocks, and we didn't know what rain flies were. And it was the record low, last September. So it was like single barge traffic only. They were taking turns. But we had the best time of our life though. And, decided that when we got back, I was like, we got to go hiking. We need to get some gear and cause I was like, that's kind of when we noticed it was the same, through hiking and through paddling. I mean, it's like we just end our season hiking and we keep paddling still. So we just move all of our stuff into the kayak. So, we're going to do it again this year. We do it as a fundraiser. And we're going to get out there and get after it. So
awesome. What's the fundraiser, and where could people check it out if they wanted to, or could they?
Yeah. So I actually work for a small mental health nonprofit here that serves the southern 7 counties. And we have just started what we're calling the Southern Wilderness Veterans Group. And the idea is taken from a lot of people. It's kind of a common idea that through hiking's helped a lot of veterans with PTSD and stuff like that. Being a veteran myself, I think it's a great opportunity that's kind of being missed in this area, that trail. It's not promoted. It's a heavy duty trail.
And what's the trail again? Are we talking about the river to river?
Yeah. On the river to river trail.
Okay, cool.
It's like 40% asphalt. Like you have to cross through towns and people's properties. Like it's cobbled together, but it's difficult. I mean, it can really take somebody down. And I think that veterans really get a benefit out of it. That was one of the number one things when I asked veterans. They're like, man, that's on my bucket list. And I'm
that's
like,
awesome.
Okay. So yeah. So if people want to donate to that, myarrowleaf.org /donate, and just type in veterans group, and they'll get the funds to us. But we're going to start, I believe we're going to do winter camping this year, because we really like it in winter and we want a challenge. So I think we're going to head out sometime. I think Canoecopia is in the early March, like the 8th. So sometime after that, because we're going to try to get up to Canoecopia for the first time and see what that's all about too. So.
Awesome, man. You should. Yeah, I'll catch you there hopefully, and maybe meet you in person, because I plan to be there too.
For sure. Heck yeah. Cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. Hey, it's Will here. Want to take a moment to let you know about today's sponsor, SREgear.com. SRE Gear is a family-owned and operated outdoor gear shop in Black River Falls, Wisconsin, and they have everything you need for your next adventure. Whether you're camping, backpacking, hiking, paddling, or just getting out there and exploring, SREgear.com has the gear you need to to get you to those places you love. I recently picked up a new Garmin InReach from SRE. I needed a new communication device for the guided canoe trips I've been leading, and after talking through a few options with the owner, Nick, there, he helped me sort out what I needed and get squared away. And that's one of the things that sets SREgear.com apart is the unbeatable customer service. Call or email with any questions, and you'll talk with the owner, Nick, or someone there close to him. So before you go and buy any outdoor equipment from a big box store, be sure to check out family-owned and operated SREgear.com, and be sure to use the discount code WILL at checkout for 10% off your first purchase. That's discount code WILL at checkout for 10% off. SREgear.com. Great gear, great prices, unbeatable customer service. Hey, it's Will here. I want to take a moment to let you know about our show sponsor and partner, Fischel Paddles, makers of fine, handcrafted wooden canoe paddles. I spent a lot of time paddling rivers and lakes, and Fischel paddles are the best canoe paddles that I've come across. I use the Ray Special model myself, and I outfit all the guided trips that I run with Fischel paddles too, because I think they're the best. Each paddle is handmade by Greg Fischel at his shop in Flagstaff, Arizona, from a single piece of wood. What I love most is the shape and feel of the paddle. Other than being beautiful and efficient, it puts less strain on your shoulders and arms than a typical paddle would, while actually giving you more control and finesse with each stroke. Plus, the shape of the blade just feels right cutting through the water. All paddles are customizable from the type of wood, whether that's cherry, ash, or maple, to laser engravings, and my favorite, which is the leather strap that Greg pins around the shaft so that it doesn't get beat up as you run along the gunnels, prying off or doing the J-stroke in the back of the stern there. So go get yourself a Fischel paddle now and feel the difference. Use the code WILL at checkout. That's WILL to get a free wooden paddle hanger with any paddle purchase. That way you can show off and organize that new handmade paddle. Check them out at FischelPaddles.com. That's FISHELL paddles.com. Fischel Paddles, handcrafted wooden canoe paddles. So what exactly does the organization do? And also I want to ask you about winter camping, because to go from a year ago worried about making it on the Mississippi, winter camping seems like a step up. But first, tell me exactly what your organization does and like what the goal is and yeah.
Yeah, well, first I got to say, so all the opinions are mine for the show.
Sure.
None of them are Arrowleafs. I'm supposed to say that. So my boss will be happy with me. But Arrowleaf serves the southern 7 counties of Illinois, the poorest counties in Illinois, the most rural counties in Illinois. I always say, if you're in Chicago, it's a little bit easier because there's so many, the resources are kind of bulked together. But down here, we do everything from social. We have social workers all over, clinic, case managers that help people, get into their appointments, stuff like that. We've got a food pantry. I work on that a couple days a week. So we go down to Caro, which is a food desert, or was until we recently got a market. But and we do a food pantry down there. So we do all kind of everything, man. We're in the schools. We're doing drug stuff with people trying to get in recovery, and we hire people that are in recovery. So yeah, it's a really great organization, and if you go to that URL I gave you guys earlier, it'll tell you a little more about us and kind of what our mission and all that stuff is.
That's awesome, man. It's tell me again, it's Arrowleaf?
Yeah, myarrowleaf.org.
Cool. Awesome. So yeah, winter camping. What's up with that, man? I've always wanted to. I've done it a handful of times or maybe more, and I always tell myself like I want to get more into it. And one of my buddies and friends from the show, Scott Oath, he runs a blog called Bull Moose Patrol, and he's a big canoeer up in Minnesota, and he's huge on the winter camping. He gave like a course to I think it was Air Force, teaching them, new tips and tricks and stuff along the lines, but super cool and really nice guy. He'll probably be at Canoecopia as well. But there's a lot to it, man. It's a lot more involved than a nice sunny day, right?
Yeah, and I actually heard that episode, so I've listened to that one. I listened to most of them. So,
awesome, great.
That one helped me a lot feel more comfortable, I guess. But The biggest reason is honestly scheduling. We we always kind of joke around like, oh, we're like blue collar, adventurers because we've got to make sure our vacations are right. And Joseph my buddy runs a small business, and he's got his daughter, and I've got my. So we kind of gotta, we're always overdoing it on miles because we're like we only have 4 days and
I hear ya.
or whatever, so we got to go 50 miles each day like minimum. And that's really what happened. We were looking at the water levels and what's been going on the past 2 seasons. We've kind of been tracking it on the Mississippi, understanding we're having low water. It's a bummer, but it's happening. And we've realized that everybody else is going down in like the spring, right after the end of the flood, or in October. My buddy Joe Solomon, he just went down again. He goes quite a bit out of Ohio, and he's like goes in October, and I was like, yeah,
And goes
I'm
down and
outside
just is
again.
what like paddling in October on the river.
Yeah, he'll go down and like do a through. Like I think it was the end of September. He just went down to Caro and went all the way to sea,
Oh wow.
and and he was just like, it's the best time to go. The weather's good. It's like perfect
Absolutely.
because we go in like August.
Yeah, it's hot.
And it's and that's always been a bummer. So we were like, we have to get smarter this season. So we're gonna try to go down the river in May, or like early May instead. Somewhere in there. So we were like, well, we got to move up the through hike then, and March I think gives us enough time. Joseph's got a 50-mile race on Saturday that I'm crewing him for his first ultra.
Awesome.
And and he's like, man, I gotta have like a break. Like I need some time to just like, kind of slow down with it, and build back up for hiking too. Cause we've been in boats all summer. So we'll train every other Saturday on hiking and every other Sunday kayaking until March. So,
And
but that's how it happened.
how long is, or you said it was like 160 some odd miles, that river to river trail. How long do people normally take to hike it?
I forget what the FKT is on it, but it's in that FKT zone where ultra people can do it. And it's been done and kind of beaten a lot in the past couple years, which is a cool factor too. People want to come and do it.
Sure.
And it's reasonable. It's not, going around like the Wonderland Trail out west or something.
Right.
The elevation's bad, but it's like if you're trying to do your first one, it's an okay one to go for, I think. So yeah, the 160 miles, it's I don't know. It's
shoot, man. For me, I'd do that in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think. Like, man, because there's actually a page, the Facebook page. I'm like, man, what do they do it in? And I think most people do it. People do like 10 and 12-mile days, so it's probably like 2 weeks.
Cool. And so, do you have a goal? Have you done it before?
Yeah. So last season we went out and did it. First time, it was kind of like ended like our kayaking down the Mississippi the first time. But Joseph finished. I didn't. We had a 36-mile day our first day.
That's brutal.
And then and it was the hardest section. We did it reverse, so we did west to east. And we just were like, well, if we knock this out, whatever. It was pretty brutal. And then the second day we did 26, and sometime in there, my ankle was like, buddy, this isn't for us right now.
I can understand your ankle, man.
Yeah. So I got my truck and, I have a topper, and it ended up being where I was like, look, dude, just give me all your stuff. I'll follow you to every road that, outing or whatever, where you come out on a road for a bit, and I'll just follow you. And I was like, and we'll just get good at video. And so I did. I flew my drone, and all I had was my phone with me, so I shot it all on my phone and edited on my phone in between sections.
That's funny.
And he finished up though. He did 6 days, just right into the 6th day. So for the whole 160. So yeah,
cool.
It was healthy. Yeah,
that's awesome, man. And what type of like topography is this trail? Like, how would you describe the stuff you're going through? Like, for instance, just to set the scene, like, we get this show gets listeners from all over. I get people from like Taiwan, from freaking Ukraine.
Right. Yeah.
Like, what type of stuff are you hiking through?
I guess the easiest way for me to compare it would be name some places nearby, because a lot of people don't know we're kind of a weird little land bridge here, but on one side of us is the Kentucky, foothills, which is
Sure.
the start of Appalachian Mountains, the edge of them. And not far from us, we can be in the Ozarks in about 2 hours, 3 hours. So we're this middle version that's got a lot of the same animals, a lot of the same rock formations, stuff like that. But we've got a lot of big bluffs and like look up Garden of the Gods recreation area. It's these huge, giant, glacial runoff is what it is, cut through. But um, just imagine it's kind of the opposite of the middle of Illinois, where it's all flattened by the glacier. Down here is just where the water ran out, so it's just carved into the earth, and there's a lot of hollers and big forests, big. I guess those would all be. I think they're cedar. To check though, I'm not good with trees, but
Me either.
great. Great forest, and it's just. But you see a little bit of everything, and it's really cool. It's a multi-purpose trail, so it's horseback too. So you get to contend with that, but there's not any like ATVs or anything. So it's still pretty peaceful. Everybody's happy to see each other out there. And, it runs through all these little communities we're talking about though. And these little backwoods towns, there's not a lot of water. There's like 2 gas stations or one real stop on the whole thing. So it can be brutal out there. Yeah. But it's a beautiful place though. It's going through these little towns like we were talking about and kind of experiencing, what's going on there now. So
That's awesome. And do
Yeah.
you have a goal for it this winter? Any kind of goal? Time, just finishing, whatever.
Yeah, we have a 10-day window. So we have a prep day first, and then we're going to shoot for 8 days. That's the goal. And then we have an extra day for recovery, or, very often we're riding back in a car, going straight to work, or leaving work in the middle of the day to go do it. Like that's how a lot of our trips end up being, just because we're pretty hectic schedules. But yeah, 8 days is the goal. That'll put us at 20 a day. And I think we'll probably have days where we do like 25 and stuff, because just trying to find somewhere to sleep, not on the side of a highway or something,
Sure.
So yeah, but yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, well, think we'll knock it out probably that second or third week of March, depending on how weather looks then. So, but yeah,
Sweet, man. I'll have to check back in and follow the Facebook page and the blog and see how it goes.
yeah, definitely, man, definitely.
And how about paddling? What I know we were talking about all these different off seasons that maybe are better, but what does winter look like for you down there? And what do you have anything that you're looking forward to coming up other than that through hike?
Yeah, winter down here, we'll be paddling on the Cache River. Right now we're in duck season, so it's multi-use, so we'll give them the space and stay out of their way and not ruin their day, because they work hard for their duck season a couple of days a year. So I get it. So while that goes on, we'll be paddling around as the creeks fill up and stuff, and we run 15-foot boats for that reason. A couple weeks ago we did a trash blast on one out here after a big rainstorm, and during a rainstorm, kind of jumping logs and doing all kinds of like crazy portages. So it'll be stuff like that, chasing the water as the creeks go up down here. My family's farm, we like to go down there. It's about 5 miles away, but the creek section, I think, is about 8 miles, and it runs into the Ohio. So that's one we kind of always try to chase for a rain day. Like we'll call each other and be like, it's raining. You can get out of work. Let's run down there.
Those are great.
So those are our favorites for sure. But no, we're going to be going down Mississippi in May, like we were talking about. The big thing on our bucket list for this season, we're only going to do the one Mississippi trip, and then we're going to go after the MR340.
Oh, awesome.
Next season. Yeah. I just did my first race. Oh, gosh. Must have been this past September, the Firecracker race in Grafton to Alton.
Okay, so the MR340 is what, the Missouri River 340-mile canoe and kayak race.
Yeah.
And it's kind of in this largest.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
I think it's the largest around, isn't it?
I'm sure it is. Yeah, it's definitely it has the most name recognition, I think. So it's kind of in the same fashion of what we were just talking about with fastest known times and trying to bag this river to river trail, in that it's like, I don't know how fast they do it, or do you have a goal for? So are you doing it, or what?
Oh yeah, we're 100%. I mean, once river to river ends, I mean, which will be March, from that day on, as soon as the water levels on the Ohio are good, we'll be paddling between Paducah over to Paducah, Kentucky, back and forth, and then we'll
Training.
step up and start doing sections. Yeah, we'll just start running sections. We'll meet up at 4 a.m. and drop a car off 15 miles down and a boat ramp, and then we'll run it again.
It's crazy,
And then
man.
we'll do and then we'll do Mississippi and build it up, and that'll be our big trip for it. And then we'll spend the rest of the summer out on the Ohio,
Cool.
just like
You're a
every single
go-getter,
Sunday.
man. We got different styles, man. I'm out there. I'm like floating, fishing, relaxing.
Yeah.
But there is I do like I say that, but I also do like getting after it at a time and a
Yeah.
place too. But the MR340 seems intense. So 340 miles on the Missouri River. So it's a big old wide behemoth. What is it? You said it's Kansas City to St. Louis or so? Or no? What's the not Kansas
I
City
forget
to
the
St.
starting
Louis?
point.
I think it's
The
around
MR340.
Kansas City though, right?
Yeah, or Jefferson. Is it
Okay.
Jefferson? One of them.
Yeah,
Or
but
Jefferson's on the way.
so 340 miles, and you're supposed to do it all the way through, right? Like people don't sleep. It's just like the fastest time as you can get paddle that 340 miles, or maybe they sleep. I don't know. How does it break down?
Right. Yeah. Well, from my understanding and the research we've done so far, and talking to people at other races we've been to, the biggest thing is that the special part about it that for us is that there's no breaks, there's no mandatory portages, there's no mandatory, hey, you got to come off the water for a bit. I believe all the other races, the Yukon, the Alabama, the Sewanee, even I know the Safari in Texas, you've got to come off and like go around dams and stuff even. So really it's for us, it's the only one that's like all out where you can, a little boat could maybe win if it's got to really, not win, but do well,
Yeah.
against these Delta boats and these like 18-foot boats that are going to smoke us. But you could maybe be more persistent, and have a chance. So
until
that's
that
the biggest thing. Yeah.
until that surf ski has the same persistence.
Yeah, I know. That was a shock. I'd never seen one, and they were at that first race. I was like, these are so cool. Like, I can't believe it's like a real thing,
Right.
And that guy just left. He left everybody. I mean, it was like there was a motor on it, and I was just like, man.
I mean, that's the thing. It's a lot of those. It's the vessel, It's obviously it is the motor, and it is the person, and being able to read the river and take the best path. But if all things were equal, then I think you would get a better. But they have different divisions too to try and equal that out, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure how it all breaks up, but yeah, there are different divisions. I know like there's K1, K2, so it's like I think I'm not sure if there's a surf ski class, but I wish there was. Man, those things are quick.
Yeah, they are.
But
so 340 miles, and it's just all the way through. Do you have any idea or anticipate a goal of what it might take you, or have you not gotten that far yet?
We haven't really gotten that far, and it's gonna be difficult for us because we've never gotten lucky enough to have much flow on a big river. But we know that like the September trip where we went down the Mississippi 2 years ago, or a year ago now, we were doing about 45 miles a day on flat water. So it's like,
yeah, you could do it.
Okay, we could, and that was in like 8 or 9 hour increments total of paddling. So I feel like, yeah, we can. I don't know. I really don't know.
You could do
a couple days, 2 days. Yeah, I don't know. It'll depend on a lot of factors, but yeah, whatever. I just want to finish really, but
what was the race that you'd mentioned that you guys, the first race you did, and what was that kind of your takeaway from it?
Well, first my takeaway is those are the nicest people I've probably ever met because it was total stranger land for me, and I had to wake up. It was about a 3-hour drive, so I had to wake up like 2 a.m., drive myself there.
Where was it?
This was Grafton, Illinois, is where the start was at. It was Grafton to Alton.
On the Mississippi.
Yeah. And I had never been that high in Mississippi either, so that was all new for me.
And what was the race called?
The Firecracker race.
Firecracker. And how far?
Yeah.
Sorry, just to be bullet pointing you.
Oh, you're good. You're good. It was 15 miles on Firecracker.
1.5 or 5.0?
1.5.
1.5. Okay. So a lot different than the
Yeah.
MR340.
Yeah. It was my like. I called it the benchmark test. I was like, if I just go to this one for $50 and I'm not good at it, that's fine. Then we
Right.
know. And then I did okay. I mean, I did all right. I think I came in like 4th or 5th in my class.
You got
I hit
down
my goal.
there, people were nice, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh man, now I'm hooked.
Yeah, exactly. Like everybody's like, "Do you have a ride?" Because I was like, "Honey, there's only 10 seats on the shuttle." I'm telling my wife, I was like, "I'm gonna have to walk. I'm gonna have to find an Uber. How am I gonna get up to the start point?" And like this lady just goes, "Do you want to get in my car?" They're like, "We're going up," and so we all just get in this car, and they all know each other, and yeah, great community of people up there. But I came in on my goal. I was like, man, if I do 3 hours, I'll be happy. That'll be like about what my boat can probably do, and it's 2:57. So I was like, perfect. I mean, good first experience, and kind of told us that this is something we'll probably pursue in the future. So
That's
yeah.
awesome. And what kind of boat were you paddling? Just your run of the mill kayak, or?
Yeah. We just Joseph started off first and went and got a dagger boat, picked that up brand new, and then I kind of scoured Facebook Marketplace in the winter and was able to get one too. So got a 15-foot dagger. Charleston is what I run, and then he runs 14.5-foot dagger. So whatever their newer model is. So
Awesome,
yeah,
man.
yeah, pretty solid boat. I'm enjoying it.
That's good. Yeah, that's another cool thing about this podcast for me, but just paddling and like all these the more I talk to people, the more I hear of like all these different canoe and paddling clubs. Like there's all kinds of local paddling clubs across the country, and like the Canoecopia thing. And unfortunately, there was a great outdoor shop in independent shop in Minnesota called Midwest Mountaineering that just shut down this year. But they always had 2 outdoor expos every year, fall and summer. I think that probably won't continue, but it's very similar to Canoecopia. And yeah, man, just the stories I heard at those places, and like the community of people, and then just people who paddle. It's like like you said, just so kind, and offering for rides. And there's something to be said for having that connection, man. I've made a lot of friends, and it's odd, or maybe it's not odd, but it seems like a lot of the people I'm paddling buddies with are kind of an older crowd. It's like, it doesn't matter age or background or whatever. It's like, if you like being out there on the water, that's all there is to it,
Yeah, and that is exactly. And I don't remember her name, and she's gonna get mad at me when I see her for this. But she she said, "Well, why didn't y'all finish when we went down the Mississippi?" And I was like, "Oh, we had to get back to work." And she goes, "Oh, that sucks. I'm retired," and just laughed at me. And she goes, "That's because she had just done it, and she was in like her, I believe, She told me she's in her 60s or 70s, and I was just like, oh, and like it was an older crowd though. Like, there were some people there probably in their 30s too, but not many,
Right.
but very cool people, and like I said, super welcoming. It was just wild time. So
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, that's cool, man. I've enjoyed chatting with you. What else? Anything else? I don't know what else. What else we haven't hit? I got one other question for you, I guess. How about wildlife? Any good wildlife you got down there in Southern Illinois, or any interesting meetings on the river?
Well, we are overran just like you guys are by the kopi or Asian carp or whatever
Yep.
title they're carrying. So we have those in the swamp, so you can see a lot of those in our videos that we've been posting, where they fly over the, or hit you in the head and knock you out or whatever. Also bald eagles. We've got an insane amount of bald eagles down here. So definitely, if you ever want to see a lot of them between here on the Cache River and down at Land Between the Lakes, there's just, all over. You can just see them. So probably our biggest couple, I'd say. So
There you go. And nothing else. I don't know. There's no gators up around you, obviously. You're way too far north, right?
Right. That's the best part. Yeah, we've got a swamp with no gators, and people are like, "Oh, well, they do all right out there." But yeah, you have to kind of explain that, I guess, sometimes. Yeah.
That's funny, man. Well, hey, I've really enjoyed chatting with you. Where can people find out more about you? I know you got the blog, Looking Down River. How's that going?
Pretty good. We're trying to be a little more diligent with it coming up into this season and kind of post what we're doing and what we're trying to, I guess, a little more detailed breakdown because we get a lot of questions about gear and stuff like that, and kind of noticed that's one of our top questions when we run into people. It's like, well, what are you using? How do I get into this? So kind of explain stuff like that in Areas to Paddle here. And then our Facebook, we post every single Sunday. So it's lookingdownriver.com and then facebook.com/lookingdownriver. So
Awesome, man. Well, anything else you want to leave us with?
No, appreciate you inviting me on, man. It's been cool.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, yeah, take care, man, and keep in touch. And if nothing else, I'd definitely like to run into you at Canoecopia, but I want to come down and paddle the cache sometime, so it'd be cool to get out with you if we can make it happen.
100%, man. Just let me know.
All right, man. Take it easy. And there you have it. That is episode 79 with Jayson Holland of lookingdownriver.com. Don't forget to check out the website, buffaloroamer.com. Got merch, journal entries. 2023 trips are up there. 2024 trips will be. All kinds of good stuff. buffaloroamer.com. If nothing else, get outside, get some fresh air, and I'll see you downriver.